So Backlash 2023 was an event we saw with our eyes, and if you want to come in here right now and say, Simon, I think it was the best Backlash show WWE has ever put on, I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right. And the major reason for this was the Puerto Rico crowd that was just so damn hot, and honestly, if you are an individual who is going to a wrestling event soon, please try and replicate this because it rocked. Given that everybody is now pumped about this, what is essentially B pay-per-view or premium live event, hello, I am Simon from What Culture. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And here's 10 things you didn't know about Backlash. Number 10, the Hunter, Edge, and Randy Orton show. So even though their win-losses ain't great at this show, it is Mr. Edge and Mr. Triple H who are basically Mr. Backlash, because when you go through every single one, these guys keep turning up. It's quite the opponents they have faced along the way too, because you've got The Rock, and you've got The Undertaker, and you've got Shawn Michaels, and you've got Hulk Hogan. But yeah, their records are 5-6 and 4-6, which means when they try to get a victory, they totally suck. They can get mad at each other too, because in 2006, it was Triple H versus Edge versus John Cena for the WWE title. And do you know who walked away with the W there? Was Jonathan Cena. Edge really ran this home too because he fought Cena again in 2007 when Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton were also in the thing, and he did lose. And I think 12 months after that, the game must have taken notice. Because he finally got a win when he was thrown in the ring with John Cena, Randy Orton, and JBL. Thank goodness for that. Edge felt the need to one-up this when he finally defeated John Cena the next year on, whereas Triple H was in a crazy 6-man tag match with Randy Orton, and somehow the title still changed hands. Edge and Randy were back to this in 2020 when we did have the greatest match ever, and I kind of feel like we've talked about that enough. I mean, it came within the pandemic era, and to be honest, you can take all of that and go poof and flick it away. I never want to discuss it again. Number 9, the last In Your House. The last ever In Your House branded show before NXT brought it back was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And when you actually go and Google that, what the flub was WWE doing? Once WrestleMania was out the way though, we did dump all of this because we got Backlash and there was no In Your House, there was no nothing. It's because we wanted to present every single pay-per-view over a 12-month period as the biggest thing ever, so you better buy it. It's why the name today does still have some cachet because it's been around for ages. And once again, if you don't get this, just go back 20 or so years and look at the metrics. The wrestling industry was changing like crazy. You also start to get very cool looking unique sets, which WWE should bring back by the way, but you can't pretend otherwise. Vince McMahon just woke up one day and deleted In Your House. It was like they meant nothing to him at all. Number 8, the best Montreal repeat. So the Montreal Screwjob is a little bit boring these days just because we've talked about it too much, but do not get it wrong. This should never have happened to Bret Hart, and it wasn't very nice. The wrestling business then took this angle and ran it into the ground, although actually, when you go to Backlash 2004, I think this was the best creative to come out of the back of it. So after we had decided to do a WrestleMania 20 World Heavyweight title rematch between Triple H, Chris Benoit, and Shawn Michaels, because we were going to do it in Benoit's hometown, which was north of the border in Canada, somebody had an idea. Because as soon as Chris and Shawn got into it, the referee got bumped, because of course he did. This is when Benoit applied the crossface, and seeing that the official was down, he was like, oh, well now I've got to go take care of this. When he got back into the ring though, do you know what the Heartbreak Kid did? He locked in the sharpshooter. And again, we were in Canada. You know how these fans feel about Shawn Michaels. They booed the shit out of him. He was also wearing similar tights from 1997, so he knew what he was doing. Jim Ross started to reference it on commentary, and when Earl Hebner, of all people, Earl Hebner came out to sort this out, do you know what Jerry Lawler quipped? Well, why doesn't he ring the bell? He's done it before. Now this didn't go anywhere and Benoit did retain his championship, but it was taking something that we had seen and just going wink wink nudge nudge instead of like ramming it down your throat. We probably should have left all this in 2004. Here's a spoiler. We didn't. Number 7, the sort of return. For some reason, WWE one day just shouted into the abyss, no more Backlash. It was then gone for 7 years, and all of a sudden in 2016 it just turned up again. By this point though, the world had changed massively, especially for WWE, so it didn't really have a set month, and it kind of just popped up all over the place. Because one was in May, one was in June, one was in September, and that last one was also responsible for the first ever SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views that would go on for ages, as well as Raw. Not gonna lie to you, I didn't like them at all. AJ Styles did beat Dean Ambrose on that card though, so actually there was something to take away from this, because it was the phenomenal one proving, oh yeah, I can be in the biggest wrestling company in the world, and I'm still ultimately gonna smash it. However, most of these backlashes did actually feel like an afterthought, which is actually how you could explain most premium live events. I mean, it's only the last 18 months where really they've started to feel special again. Number 6, the night of debuts. So I suppose in many ways these days it's become the Raw after WrestleMania, but when it came to seeing wrestlers have their first ever WWE matches, Backlash was the pay-per-view that was like, well, I'll do it. After Mojo Rawley had a surprise appearance on the SummerSlam kickoff show in 2016, he was teaming with his Hype Bros partner Zack Ryder to take on the Usos, and we had the likes of Just the Incredible Sean O'Haire and Umaga arrive in 2001, 2003, and 2006 respectively. There is far bigger fish to fry though, because Brock Lesnar had his first proper match in 2002 at Backlash against Jeff Hardy, where he essentially murdered him. Do you remember what happened a year after this? It was The Rock versus Bill Goldberg. The most offensive one also happened in 2006, and you remember this. It was the McMahons taking on Shawn Michaels and the Lord Almighty. Now, there was probably a line we shouldn't have crossed here, but man, did we cross it. Number 5, the McMahons and the referees. So in 1999, the McMahon family were falling apart. Shane McMahon didn't like Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon didn't like Shane McMahon, especially because Daddy McMahon was far more worried about his daughter Stephanie, who was being chased by The Undertaker. Don't worry about it. The Rock was still full-on asshole, which is why he walked into this event trying to win back his WWE title, which he had lost to Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. Shane Owen made himself the special guest referee too, so you just knew that this was going to be Shenanigans Central. Or chaos. Absolute chaos. Because halfway through, Vince did return after being away for a while. He took out Shane McMahon. He had referee Earl Hebner with him, who went and helped Steve Austin retain his title. Good. Jump forward 12 months though, and the family was all buddies again, because they had welcomed Triple H into the fold, and everyone had decided we have to protect him at all costs. He was also battling with The Rock, who was now a good guy, and do you know who the special guest enforcers were? It was Pat Patterson, and it was Gerald Briscoe. So that's right, there was more nonsense. It was also a little weird because Steve Austin was also another one of these, because he was coming back from injury, and even though he didn't turn up until like right at the end of the match, he twonked Triple H. When Linda McMahon was here, she pushed down Stephanie. She also had Earl Hebner with her. He got in the ring. All of a sudden, The Rock was the champion. Now, you can poo-poo this all you want, but go and listen to the response when Linda does push over her daughter. Everyone goes crazy. This is why we did it for so long. Now, before Hulk Hogan sets a record. So according to most reports, it was brand new WWE champion who got to Backlash 2002 and said, you know what? Put me in the ring with Hulk Hogan. We got to give the belt to him. It was kind of crazy because it had only been a month after Triple H had finally defeated Chris Jericho at WrestleMania after he had been out for ages with a quad tear. But you all remember Mania 18. That's when we had The Rock versus the Hulkster, and people lost their mind for the red and yellow. So I'm sure that Hunter knew eventually this title would find its way back to him anyway, which is why, yeah, a month after Backlash, Hulk Hogan lost to The Undertaker to begin with. It did set a record though, because given that Hulk did win the championship here, and he won his first championship in 1984, well, it was basically the longest time a male performer in WWE had in between title reigns. Now, can you do anything with that information? No. But I thought I'd tell you anyway. Number 3, Scottys Big Night. Quite the underrated wrestler, since he did find his way to massive popularity, Scott Garland likely should have got more opportunities than he did. Because honestly, if you get as over as he did, you kind of think some sort of title run was going to happen eventually. And it didn't really. It all kicked off in 1999 when his tag partner Brian Christopher got injured, and when they did return, they were Grandmaster Sexay, but because they were appearing in WWE, eventually Vince McMahon was like, ha ha, now you're going to be singles guys. It worked out really well for Hottie though, because he started to go after the WWE Light Heavyweight Championship, and if only McMahon had actually cared about this, all of it would have been beautiful. At Backlash 2000, he does indeed try to win this thing where he takes on Dean Malenko, and I tell you, while it's probably lessened now because of everything we've done in 2023, Scotty 2 Hottie is just flying around the ring like the ultimate babyface, whereas Dean is just Mr. Technical Wrestler. Really good. Malenko also reversed the superplex into a DDT from the top rope in order to get the win. And yeah, I just thought this needed to be shouted about more because nobody talks about this. I went back and watched it, and it is fire. To farewell, Owen Hart. So this one is horrible, but we must talk about it because the memory and legacy of Owen Hart should always be shouted about. Otherwise, we're going to forget. But a month before his tragic death at 1999's Over the Edge pay-per-view, he was involved in a tag team match to determine who would be the brand new #1 contenders for Kane and X-Pac's championship. Kane and X-Pac were a weird team, although it was X-Pac who taught the Big Red Machine not to talk without his voice box. I don't know what was going on. They were facing the New Age Outlaws too, and of course, given the time, it was Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg who got the victory here. But just go and listen to any story that Owen Hart's tag team partner Jeff Jarrett tells. It was one of his favourite times in his career just because he got to hang out with Owen. Sums it up. But one, money. That's right, money. The WWE was so successful in the year 2000 that when they got to WrestleMania, they just went flub it. No more singles matches, we're just going to have a bunch of fun, we're going to do a bunch of stipulations, and also, we're not going to pay the story off here. We're going to wait a month. And I think most people would agree in hindsight this was an error because most individuals just wanted Triple H versus The Rock. But instead we threw the Big Show in there, we threw Mick Foley in there, and there was a McMahon in every corner. Sports entertainment. The thing is though, it worked because we did decide to hold off the Game versus the Great One until Backlash, and this show did 675,000 buys, which for a non-WrestleMania event was crazy. I mean, the Royal Rumble only did 590,000 buys. It's the Royal Rumble. The daring to stretch Mania out a few weeks was a massive success, and it made them a lot of money, which is why we see some of the things we're still seeing in 2023. Remember when we went to finish the story at WrestleMania 39? Well, there's a reason we did it, and you can go back over 2 decades ago and start figuring it out. So many other things that nobody knows about Backlash. Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And look, there's videos on the screen. I think you should click them and see what happens. Also, please do come visit us at whatculture.com, where we have a bunch of articles for your eyes, and we're on social media at Simon316 and What Culture WWE. But more importantly, just watch 2023 Backlash with a massive smile on your face. Wrestling is there to entertain us, my friends. I will see you soon.